Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of SuperFantaFi. This being a show where I talk about TV shows of the supernatural, fantasy, and/or science fictional genre. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about the Season 2 premiere of The Lazarus Project. A great season premiere. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we open with the whole situation, picking up where the Season 1 finale left off, which I want to let you know ahead of time. I remember a good chunk of Season 1. The recap helped a lot, but there was also, there's a lot I'm also forgetting, too. Because, for example, why are we killing Reggie? I'm like, was Reggie a traitor or something like that? Did he, patch up Shiv, or was he secretly killing Shiv every time because he wasn't a good guy? Reggie, I'm like, I don't remember why we're having to pop Reggie, because we have to do it every single time he finishes patching up Shiv. We have to immediately kill him afterwards. That's rough, but I'm like, poor Reggie, but I'm like, I don't remember. So someone in the comments let me remind me why Reggie has to get popped. Either way, we're picking up with Sarah too, being like, oh my god, I remember everything. It's like, what the hell is going on? Well, we haven't really talked about everything she remembers, because we don't know if her memories have kind of caught up to this point in time. I think eventually they will. I mean, there's also the thing of, because some of the conversations later on, it's how much does she remember versus how much George explained to her. It's hard to say. So it might just be like some of that stuff could be just stuff she remembered on her own. So, I mean, she just took the injection before the reset. So there's no telling, it probably is going to take a little while for that to kick in. I think even for a mutant, it would probably still take a little while, because it still took George a hot minute to kind of get his bearings on everything. I mean, obviously it wasn't too long before the Lazarus Project came to him. So it takes probably a while for the serum or whatever to really settle in your system. But anyway, he's talking to Shiv, and Shiv's like, cool, you need to talk to Wes about this. You're going to have to tell her everything. So he reluctantly shows up, and Sarah's like, so what did you do? He's like, well, and he flashbacks to every terrible thing he did last season. He's kind of like, I did a lot. I love that. I think I talked about this in Season 1. I do love that this show has this very underlining dark sense of humor, and you're just kind of gonna have to laugh at it. Just George's reaction being like, yeah, I kind of did some terrible stuff, it was all, but it's like, oh, it's all for good, right? So he goes and meets with Wes, and Wes is like, cool, so you did this, you did that, you killed Shiv, you framed him, okay, you did all that, and at the end of it, Sarah still dumped you regardless. And it's like, yep. And then turns to Sarah, and Wes is like, I like you. It's like, that's actually really good. It's almost like, good. He doesn't deserve a happily ever after. It's almost like it's karma coming back to bite you, that even at the end of the day, you didn't get the girl. I mean, because it's not like you did it for the greater good. You did it for your personal selfish reasons of why you wanted to save Sarah, and you didn't get the girl in the end. Do you regret doing it? No, because you still love her and care about her. So there's that, but it's still a thing of, yeah, you'd be alive, and we'd stay together and be happily ever after. So it's like, you're almost kind of like, I mean, he hasn't pushed that angle, but there could be different circumstances and different characters could be this whole, you kind of should stay with me considering all that I've done for you. So there's that. But Wes is like, yeah, I want nothing to do with you. Oh, you want to help out with the time loop we're in now? Cool. I want nothing to do with you. I only work with people I can trust, and I can't trust you, so get out. But who does she keep? Sarah. It's like, cool. Because now Sarah's got to live with the fact of learning, because at this point, George didn't really have an opportunity to explain everything. So she's like, cool, you're going to be waking up back at July 1st for the next 3 weeks. After 3 weeks, over and over again until eternity, because we're just forever stuck in this time loop. So, cool, you've been filled in on everything. Time to bring you into the fold. Well, you're tangentially connected to all this. We need good people. Definitely need a replacement for George. So, she's been hired, George has been fired, and now he just has to chillax, knowing what he knows and not really being able to do anything about it. So, and Sarah's going through the training, and it's just, I'd almost halfway expected the story to kind of shift to us mainly focusing on Sarah's journey, like how Season 1 was kind of George's journey. I thought this would kind of be more Sarah's journey, but it's still just as much George's journey, but it's everyone else's journey too, and now Sarah's just been brought into the fold. So we find out that there's an organization, the Time Break Initiative. They're a group that's been trying to make a time machine. Zhang worked for them. There's 6 particular scientists that are connected to this project of making the time machine. So the whole point was kind of Zhang's whole deal was right, I was to kill people, find these people and kill them, just so that no one else could get access to them type of situation. So are they still alive or dead? There's a strong possibility a lot of them are dead because they've kind of fallen off the face of the earth. So Sarah ends up talking to George. It's understandable because like she's not really close to anyone at the office yet. So understandable. Like the person she's closest to is George, and you're kind of going through this tumultuous time of like, yeah, we're going through this loop over and over again, and I don't really have anyone to talk to but George, and I do still care about you, especially now that I'm remembering everything. So I love that she was actually pissed at him too, being like, basically, I got hit by a garbage truck because of you. He's like, because she's like, because you forgot I got hit by one. He's like, yeah, I was distracted. She's like, yeah, clearly it is kind of effed up. It's like you knew, like, once again, it's like George got so sidetracked because there was so much other stuff going on. Of course, he wasn't, once again, it's. With time travel, the details are so important, and George legitimately dropped the ball in that situation. It's like, I mean, it all worked out in the end, but it's still the thing of you killed a lot of people, you did a lot of terrible shit in the name of bringing back the woman you love. And once again, it didn't even work out. So once again, that was kind of the universe giving you the bird. But, I mean, to be fair, Sarah is still here, because now the conversation is, how does she feel about him? It's like, well, she's got to wake up to her fiance, which she's got to loop back to that at the beginning every time now, knowing, like, oh, like, how she really, like, remembering that you're just waking up to him every morning. It's like, what is those next 3 weeks like for her with her fiance now, knowing everything? Like, how do you handle that relationship of, I mean, even if you break up with him, it doesn't mean shit because you're going to be back with him, waking up into bed with him, like, every restart after every 3 weeks, and you're just like, ugh. So, like, there's no winning that situation. It's just kind of like a complicated mess that she sadly finds herself in. So we just get little peeks into her just kind of waking up next to him. He'd be like, oh, good morning. And she's like, yeah, good morning. And just like, or like, hey, or whatever, like when he rolls over and touches her. So it's like, that's rough. I mean, I think that's why at one point in time you see her just like straight up hop out of bed, being like, "Cool, I'm back. Let me just get back to work immediately. Just gotta get away from this because it's just it's just a very unfavorable and complicated and messy situation." But Sarah does leave some of the files with George to help because he wants to prove himself to the team. Like, I can help. I don't want to just sit on my hands and just like wait as time just keeps repeating every 3 weeks. I'm going a little stir crazy, not knowing what's going on. So he ends up actually helping find one of the scientists. Is actually George is really good at this. To be fair, like, once again, he found Big Boy on his own, so he's got a knack for this. Only problem is, like, he found more information about, like, he, like, saw a photo that has some very specific sneakers. He was able to track down those sneakers on, like, a forum, led him to a guy in Germany. The guy, like, runs from him, gets hit by a car. So, all right, let's try this again. He handcuffs the dude, gets shot. Okay, let's do this again. He goes in and shoots the guy in the leg. And it's like he actually says in German because he didn't know German before. So it's like, okay, so it took you about 6 weeks to pick up some German. So it seems like it did. Because I'm assuming at the beginning of every loop, you're immediately jumping into that situation. Well, it's hard to say because it's like, well, you went, well, the guy probably visits that place because he was in the same clothes. So it's like you must get there the same time you must wait because it's actually probably a little bit longer than just 6 weeks because it's like you probably like don't immediately go after him because like I think the dude had the same clothes on every time just like the other dude did that he deals with in Morocco. So it's like you're probably like waiting because you're like, I don't know where they are any other time, but I know where they'll be at this very specific day when I first encountered respectively the guy in Berlin and the guy in Morocco. So the Berlin situation took only like 3 tries to kind of lead him to the Morocco dude, which that whole sequence, once again, I just love the fun of time travel. All this restart shenanigans of just like, live, die, repeating it, and just, which once again, making reference to the movie, even though I've never seen it, but, I know the premise and stuff. So him just kind of, cool, I'm getting it wrong in this particular try, let me do it again. Okay, he punched me, threw me out the window, let me do this right this time and not get thrown out the window. So I love how that just kept happening over and over again. So ultimately, he finds this. All of it was kind of for naught because the scientist is dead. So he goes and tells West that, and West is like, cool, how many loops did that take you? And he was like, 10 times. And she's like, and so 7 months you were sitting on this information, you didn't say anything. He was like, well, I just wanted to, and she's like, you wanted to prove yourself. He was like, no, like just to prove that I'm part of the team. And she's like, shut up, don't say the same thing to me with different words. I love that response. But yeah, George is like, yeah, you need all hands on deck. Let me help you. I can be useful. It's like, cool, sit at a desk and just shut up and don't like go out in the field. And I love her, like, the passive sassiness when she was talking to George. Like, oh, not unless you have some information on that particular Dr. George. And he was like, no, I don't. She's like, oh, no, you don't. And I was just like, I love, like, once again, I think it's just that dry British sarcasm. I love it. It's so good. Because you have Zhang and Archie finding one scientist in Tokyo. I love that whole sequence where Archie speaks Japanese, but Zhang doesn't. And it's like Archie translating for the guy, and they're laughing because he's like, hey, why don't you have a couple drinks and let me get to know you? And Archie's laughing, haha, and he's like, yeah, that guy wants you to basically jerk him off or whatever. And then like Zhang kind of threatens him, and it's like, oh, do you want me to translate that? And Zhang's like, yes, please. They find the scientist. He's been dead for a while because it's like, it sucks because at first you're kind of like, well, maybe if we're, nope, both scientists they went looking for in this episode was like, cool, they were already dead. This particular doctor they were looking for in Tokyo, he was already dead before, dead before the checkpoints. You're like, damn, dude, you can't catch a break. So, but they ended up finding, I'm trying to remember, oh yeah, he had some correspondence with the other doctor, Samson. And so, because everyone's already like out and about, it ends up having to be George, Sarah, which is her first like field assignment, and Greta, which I love. Greta's not giving George a gun. She's like, for you to shoot me like you did Shiv? No. Like, fact is, stand behind me and just don't stab me in the back. And he's looking at Sarah, and Sarah's just kind of like, I can't do nothing about it. It's like, the squad, like, they've had plenty of time to deal with their anger and distrust of you, but it's not like that's going to completely go away. It's like, yeah, we still need even more time, but it's like, I mean, technically it's the oxymoron of you have all the time in the world, but also none at all. You have 3 weeks, but you have 3 weeks for eternity. So that was kind of an interesting development. I also really quickly, I'm gonna talk about it later on, but I do love the Dennis stuff because I was like, right, we know Dennis went to visit him. Even Wes says something about it, but why haven't we seen him literally any other time? Well, we'll talk about that later because it's actually really sad and depressing when it's all said and done. But either way, they went to find home dude Samson. He was already dead. They're like, crap. Well, maybe time of death puts it so roughly around the time of the checkpoint. So, all time considered, we could get there to the Alps in about 2 and some hours. So it's like, the moment we hit that checkpoint, we just got to restart and rush there. So George did also take the ring off of him and started following that breadcrumb, which once again, George, he's so busy trying to prove himself, like, oh, I can be part of the team. It's like, how about you just prove yourself to be useful to the team by telling him? But he wants to be a step ahead of him so he can prove himself. It's like, oh, if I find something useful for me, you kind of don't want to present something that might not mean anything in the long run. But it turns out, luckily this time, him keeping the information to himself benefited the team. We'll see in the long run what that turns out to be. Because George ends up finding out the ring, I think it might have been written in Latin maybe. It was kind of basically, the line was like, what time devours all or something like that. It's based on a book by a Dr. Gray, but Dr. Gray died back in 2012, which we know Janet was potentially sent, well, we know she was definitely sent back to 2012, so it's like, okay. So it was like, was she sent back in time to kill this scientist? But why? I was like, if you're going to kill everyone, why not kill everyone? Why just kill Dr. Gray? Because it was like a fire that seems suspicious, but it seems like no, she didn't, as we kind of learned later on from Dennis, because George reached out to him because looking at a video from like 2012, we find out Wes was at one of her places because she was talking about time travel isn't something that we as man discover. It is something that has always existed, but we are going to learn how to harness it. It's kind of that concept of a couple of things have kind of showcase the aspect of like time just being an energy that you can kind of tap into, whether it's low-key or whether it's to show outer range. Kind of being like, yeah, time's just this thing that we as humans can like tap into and take advantage of. But then it's like, cool. Dr. Gray is tied to all the scientists because she basically, I think she thanked all of them for her book or something like that. But it's like, cool. Wes went to this thing from like 2012. So it's like, why is it that Wes knows Dr. Gray and is connected, but like she has not mentioned any connection there, which is kind of super suspicious. So what's up with that? And then there's the whole situation of, well, maybe because they start thinking like maybe the second singularity was created by the time breakers and they sent Janet back in time to try and fix their mistake because they created that second singularity. Now they're in a situation where it's like, cool, our time machine didn't work, so we need Janet to go back in time to kind of rectify all that, to correct their mistake of the second singularity. So by breaking all this and just kind of like fixing whatever it is in the past, they can undo all of this. But it's like, if Janet went back in time to do that, why are we still stuck in a loop? Meaning something must happen to Janet. Because it begs the question of like, how does that work? Because like, if Janet messes up, what happens? Like, you're kind of stuck living out. Well, it's like, how does that work? How does the looping work? Well, because the thing is, they talked about it, Janet would get there like a month before Dr. Gray dies. So how does it, would the time loop even affect Janet, considering she is, oh God, it's a paradox, because it's like timeline wise, you're before the loop is like, the paradox is stuck, I mean the loop is stuck in 2024, where we are currently present day with the story. So I guess anything outside that realm of time has escaped the time loop. Because I was wondering, like, could Janet be stuck in a time loop herself? Like, but it's like a very specific 3-week time loop that she finds herself in. Like, it feels like it wouldn't affect itself. Like, once again, it's those time travel questions. I'm like, I'm sure someone smarter than me could be like, give a very definitive answer of yes or no in that. But I'm like, I never really thought about like the paradoxical angle of time travel that exists outside of the time loop, because it's like, yeah, this time travel takes you outside of the loop, which you would almost think that'd be impossible, but I guess with enough force and time and everything, you could push through it. I guess that's where the time travel comes, of like, you're just moving so fast, you just push through the loop. You'd almost think that'd be inescapable. I guess I didn't even think about that last season. It's just, it's once again, like, time travel can be such a heady concept when you think about it too much, and you're an idiot like me and not knowing like the scientific or even fantastical or science fictional like applications of how that works with the time travel rules. Why get so caught up in the details? I don't know. It's just something interesting, because my whole point for going on that massive diatribe was just wondering, like, could that be interfering with Janet's mission? But it's like, once again, Dr. Gray dies like a month later, so will you not like? But that, my point being too, is if Janet failed, she just lived out the rest of her time in 2012. So it's like, what does that necessarily mean? You know, like, there's no like resetting for her anytime she might fail. Someone would have to go back to before she failed and kind of interact with her in 2012 to remedy whatever problems going on at that time. Not unless we find out someone else went back in time, and it's just kind of like, we kind of got like if you've watched a Quantum Leap reboot, like a Leaper X type of situation going on here, like another fellow time traveler with their own mission. I have no idea. I am spitballing, just throwing out random thoughts and ideas. Once again, none of this fully still explains why Wes is keeping hush about all this. And even Shiv is kind of suggesting, let's keep our mouths hush about this because we don't have enough evidence before we go jumping down Wes's throat. Because it was actually Dennis who was suggesting they go question her. But it's like, yeah, Shiv still trusts Wes over Dennis. It's like, he's willing to give her the benefit of doubt. Understandable so, considering what she's done for him, what she's kind of given him a purpose and new place in life and stuff. So there's some stuff in between then and there I had skipped over, like the George and Sarah conversation where she was like, actually, how many people you killed? Not even just including the bomb or whatever, like legitimately how many people you've killed. He was like, well, there was Shiv, who, I mean, it's like, I don't remember if he counted Shift twice, because he did kill Shift the first time. And what was that, like episode 4 or 5 of last season? Plus, like, technically you're kind of shooting him over and over again. Then bringing up Reggie, the bodyguard he killed. It's just like, it just kept going through the body count of last season. And then even be like, you accidentally. So it's like, yeah. So, and because George constantly, he even had this conversation with Archie about, like, like, could you ever find yourself to trust me again? She's like, maybe, I don't know. Because him and Archie got decently close before, and that's why, like, his betrayal cut even deeper. Because it's like, right, she knows what it's like to be in his shoes. She was in his shoes. She just didn't go crazy like him in an attempt to bring back the person she loved. She kind of accepted things as they were, and George obviously couldn't. She's like saying, like, yeah, I would have done exactly what you would have done, because she had every motive and every reason to. Only thing is, I wouldn't have gotten caught. But I think it also speaks volumes about Archie, Dad. It's like, she probably would have never done what he did, because she could have, and she had the motive to do it, and she just never took that opportunity. I think that just shows the difference. So George is trying to figure out whether or not the rest of the team will ever forgive him, and Sarah's saying they will, just give them time. Once again, you kind of have all the time in the world, even when you don't. The oxymoron of the enigma and contradiction that is their circumstances currently. Sarah even talked about why he kills Reggie the way he does, because he keeps having to pick up brain matter, because he keeps headshotting Reggie, even though Shiv tells him just shoot him through the heart. And it's like, well, why do you do that? And Sarah's saying it's because you don't want him to see it coming. So you don't want to see that fear in his eyes with the gun pointed. Like, even if it's a split second, him turning around, shooting through the heart, it's like that. You don't want to see that. So you just want to put him out of his misery so he doesn't even see it coming. It makes it a little easier. You don't even have to look him in the face, because it is just straight up from behind. So kind of saying, like, right, you're a good person. It's like, oh, you're not a bad person. You're just a good person who did bad things. And it's like, I'm sure other people would argue against that, because it's just like, yeah, you did a lot of fuck shit, George. You did a lot of fuck shit. So. But anyway, circling back to the Dennis thing, as I was talking about earlier, Dennis is like, Samson dies, like, oh, you got there like 2 hours or something? I could get there in about an hour. It's like, how? He's like, I'm in Geneva. And it's like, why are you in Geneva? Because I am. And we reset, and it's like, oh, he was in Geneva about to kill himself. So now begs the question, how many times has he killed himself? There's got to be some times he didn't go through with it, but there had to be some times when he did. Because it's like, you also know that he purposely chose, like, the checkpoint to do that. Like, because I don't know if that was his way of punishing himself. Like, he wants to forever be, like, well, because it's like, you know what time it is. In the regards of, what the checkpoint was going to be. He even brings up later when he's talking to Samson. Samson's like, why did you do it? And he was like, I don't know. Like, it's been so long at this point in time, I actually don't even remember why I was doing it in the first place. That in itself is depressing and sad. It's like, probably like he has enough time to like be like, oh, I'm tired of like killing myself over and over again. Let me take a break from it. Oh, I'm back to being sad again. I mean, maybe there was just maybe he never went back to it after a certain point. Maybe some of the earlier points in time he still went through with it, but him specifically choosing then the checkpoint to do it, like, feels like that was probably him punishing himself on some level. Like, I want to see myself go through this over and over again. Maybe this situation, because this is before they found out about the time loop, so he's probably thinking like, man, this situation is going to be what it is, and if there's a reset, I'm going to just do it all over again. If there's not, then my ticket's been punched. But whatever the case may be, he rushes over there, kind of fills Samson in about, like, your other compatriots are dead, just someone that's going to show up here, which I'm assuming that's got to be the Timebreaker people. Like, who else would it be that's coming after them? I don't know why I like the video game-ness of just, I mean, it makes sense why you would, but it feels very video game-ish of, oh, I had no weapon, then I pick up the pistol, then I pick up a bigger gun, then I pick up another bigger gun, and just like, it feels so video gamey, dropping one gun, picking up another, And he single-handedly took everyone down, granted, got shot, but luckily got the doctor out of there, let Wes know, so it's like, right, they're going to show, the squad is going to show up to pick up the doctor, even if Dennis ends up dying. It's kind of like, yeah, it is what it is, you know? He kind of wanted to die before, and it's like, well, if this doesn't succeed, I'm going to be... I mean, the sad thing is, if they don't succeed, like, does that mean Dennis is going to find himself having to save Samson over and over again every time loop? Because that's going to suck. I mean, at least you're going to be a lot more prepared knowing where they are positioned and where they're going to come from. Granted, everything changes, like, even by the smallest degree, things do change with every loop. Especially, I mean, you know... So I don't know how that's all going to play out. Because it's also sad. It's like, well, whatever information they get from Samson, like, if they would probably need him to stay alive so they can help, like, have more and more time to figure this out. Because if not, you know, that means just every time loop he's going to die over and over again, sadly. Once again, like, he's the only one they can save in this situation, so... We also had that whole situation with Dr. Gray's like voiceover, and it was at the thing where she was talking about the elasticity of it all, like the limits of like how much you can push time and change it before everything breaks. And then we get the whole thing with Wes having the book in her drawer. So where all this goes is definitely going to be interesting. Obviously, I'm getting to this a little late. I believe episode 2 is already out here in the U.S. and episode 3 airs tomorrow at the time you're recording this. The show was already canceled because the second season already aired and ended in the UK, and in fact, it got canceled. So technically, this is the final season, but because that was kind of even newsworthy, makes me go like, oh, so this season must end on a cliffhanger. I don't know what that means for the show. Like, I don't know if, like, someone else, like a streamer, is going to decide to, like, bring the show back maybe for a third and final season or what. Like, once again, whatever we get at the end of this season is potentially all there'll ever be unless something changes. I haven't looked into it beyond that because, once again, the entire show's already done in the UK. So, like, I don't want to stumble across any spoilers, so I'm avoiding, like, looking too deeply into anything. But that's where things currently stand. So we'll see if... I'll probably try to see if there's anything new while trying to avoid spoilers, but we'll see. Anyway, I'm excited to have the show back, whether this is the final season or not, and just have more time travel shenanigans in this world, because I love this version of time travel and just this storyline in general, because I think it's so interesting and fascinating. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.